Youngsters making their debut for the Springboks and being selected in the squad for the Barbars. And Lincoln Marley joins the show to chat about the Mzwandile Marley Foundation. That's Rugby on 216 tonight, brought to you by Thirsty. Hello and welcome to another episode of Rugby on 216, brought to you by Thirsty. The three of us are back in studio. We haven't been here for a while. We've been on tour at a couple of schools in Gauteng. Guys, what does it feel like to be back home?
I mean, it feels great to be back home. And then, I was in a good mood. I rock up to the studio. We're about to shoot. I'm so excited to see the crew, see the guys. I'm singing my songs, getting myself in the zone. Sport just attacks me for no reason, attacking my terrible singing.
I think we should say exactly what Sput said. Okay. He asked you who sings the song. You told him, and then he said, "Yeah, we should leave it to him."
Yeah, that's what I walked into, and that's what I was getting in the zone to shoot.
So it's a hostile environment in studio this morning.
So I want to go back to being on tour, because at least on tour you sit in the middle of us. So Sput's on that side. He's back next to me.
I think it was very important for me this morning, as I was driving to studio, to just get the tone right, because for the last few weeks it sort of started looking as if Cooks and myself enjoy each other's company, and I think I just wanted to lay the ground rules again, saying that in here it's always been a bit hostile, and let's keep it that way.
Let there be no doubt.
I mean, this is still. I mean, Sput and Cooks is still the biggest school derby. It's the biggest derby in South Africa.
Yeah, it is actually fun being back. It's weird, eh? When you spend a lot of time in studio, you look forward to going to the schools, and then it is such a nice studio, and we've got all the Thirsty photos on, and it's just good to be back and chat schoolboy rugby.
And something that's sort of happened this weekend, coinciding with us being back in studio, the Springboks were back in action. The Barbarians, I saw the Barboks, as they were affectionately called this weekend, being made up of mostly South Africans. A couple youngsters making debuts. So I thought we'd talk about them this morning in the first bit of the show. Batu Hlekane for Barbarians, Zachary Porton for the Springboks. Starting with Batu Hlekane, I think it's a story, we've spoken about him on the show a couple of times, spoken about him at SuperSport schools for a while, and the story of him coming from Zwide, the same township as Siya Kolisi, in Mzwandile High School. Then he moved to Graham College, part of them.
Sons of the Leopard. Yeah.
I was trying to sneak
How
it
can
through.
I not be hostile to that? You know what I'm saying? It's like
You got to add that part.
So he's got two broken records. The one he was singing this morning is very broken, and then like Sons of the Leopard.
Sons of the Leopard. Sons of the Leopard.
And it's the way he sort of dips his head before he says it,
It interrupted me and I knew what was coming. So, Zwide, Nibai, the same township as Siya Kolisi. In Mzwandile High School, then he became part of the Mzwandile Marley setup, which is why he went to the college that shall not be named. So he's part of that Mzwandile Marley success story. It's like, you can't say it.
It's like BZ and Ban Zonder Naam. That one is like school zonder naam,
Exactly.
That's cool.
Selected for the SA Under-20 side in 2024 and 2025. He's moving to the Lions in 2026. He was included in the Barbar squad. You guys know all about Batu Hlekane. It's such a special story.
I think that very first time you saw him in the junior Bok jersey, look, you knew something special was happening when he played Craven Week and so forth, and he sort of announced himself against my team, against the Free State, when Eastern Province beat Free State on day one of the 2023 Craven Week. Yeah?
So some say that's the best game of the Craven.
Yes.
Eastern Cape finally getting dominance of a free state.
Yeah, dominance. Dominance is a very harsh word. I remember it a bit differently, but that's where he announced himself, and he was playing against the likes of JJ Tron and so forth for the Free State, who came there very highly rated, and it is sort of the two out of that year group that has progressed very nicely is Hlekani and Tron. His sheer size was what impressed me first, but how he got the size across the park. We have spoken about it this year. The one thing we want to see more of is him increasing his work rate. But what he does, he is so flippin' effective. You know, and here's the thing, why he is ready already, because his body can take it. He's physical enough. He can mix it with the whips, you know, and he can hurt the whips. And the Nzomdelelo High School, remember, it's not the first good rugby player that goes there. And I just love the structures in South African rugby at this stage and at junior levels and at school level, that there is scope for those players. Yes, they might not stay in those schools up to matric, but they are noticed there. And those schools are playing at a competitive level. So the likes of Hlekani, even before he became a Leopard son, he was noticed, you know, and I love it. I love him. I love the way he plays. I love the physical marker that he puts down in every pack of forwards he joins. You know when a player is really good, or how you know a player is really good. He's going to leave your union. You know he's going away in the next season, yet you still play him.
Yeah.
Then you know, listen, because what happens usually when a player is still under contract at one union, they learn that he'll be leaving in 3 or 6 months. That's the end of the road there.
Give some other guys a chance.
Sort of drops out of the match day 23,
them, yeah.
you know, carries tackle bags, those sort of things, but not Hlekani.
I think this would you hit the nail on the head. I think for me, you know, the story of him, it's only getting started. It's only scratching the surface. Now you're seeing him playing for the Barbarians. It's an incredible experience for him. You know, traveling, being with those guys. And I think when it made it easier, John Dobson, you know, sort of taking the ranks, and a lot of African guys, it kind of shows the value that it's not like Dobo is going, I need to take a look at this guy quicker. We've got to bring him this Barbarian setup, and getting a chance against an All Blacks 15 guys. And there are All Blacks there, like David Ivili was playing. And, you know, guys who are established All Blacks are in that mix. So for him, getting that exposure, he's an incredible talent. I think for me, the biggest thing for him now is where he goes from here. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited for him to go to the Lions. I think at the Lions, he will get a lot more game time as he's getting the shot. I think more starting minutes. And very excited to see how he uses that. I think also how he goes from being, you know, he's still a promising youngster to the Lions are signing him as a marquee player. Like, you're almost like, you big part of our future. So I'm keen to see how it goes from there. But I mean, he's an exceptional talent.
Where do you think you would start him? He's obviously played flank. He's played lock. He's played a lot more at flank in the professional era.
I think he's a blindside flanker. I think for me, like, you know, it's mentioned like the work rate, but that for me, it's going to get better and better. Like you look at, like, you know, Kevin Foote, and I spoke to him during the, you know, the international season. He spoke about one, the sheer fear he caused for his opposition towards carrying the ball, and also he spoke about the stuff you don't see, because everyone sees the big players, but he goes, his work rate, which is coming along nicely, and the things that he can do because he's effective in more time. I think for me, he is, I mean, potentially maybe at 8. I mean, like, I would love to see him and Yasu Visa going toe-to-toe at each other.
Look, where's the Lions? That's the key. Where do they see him? What's been the negotiations behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Bartu, we bringing you in as a 7. Was that the call? Or Bartu, we bringing you in as an 8 because that's where we see you? So for the next year, that's very, very crucial. What is Cash van Rooyen and the Lions' plans for Bartu Hlekani?
It's going to be exciting to see. Cooks thinks he'll get a bit more starting time with the Lions. I think that's likely for us to see in 2026. And John Dobson saw it fit to include him in the Barbars squad. But then the one that was, I think, very exciting this week, it was viral all over social media. Zachary Porton, he went to Wynberg Prep, Wynberg High. He captained the Wynberg first side. He was part of the UCT Varsity Cup winning team this year. He's already played 2 years of pro rugby with Western Province and Currie Cup in 2024 and Stormers in 2025. He was the youngest debutant prop for the Springboks ever this weekend against Japan. And come scrum time, Kenta Kobayashi, who was scrumming against, he didn't flinch against him. Didn't have much ball in hand, but he did have a couple bounces, I think, when he did get hold of the ball. But just imagine making your test debut at that age as prop, where it's kind of one of those positions where there's no room for messing about. Every little error in this scrum, you're going to be pinged because, just the pressure.
And also, props tend to get better with age.
Yeah.
And mature as 21 years old. I'm sure he was probably quite surprised, getting the initial call up, and then you go from there to going. You're starting. Not even in just coming on. You're starting. Starting, and your story is incredible. Having captain the Bay Box side as well, and fantastic player. Gets around the park. His work with ball in hand is fantastic, and scrum time, and also people talk about he's an incredible leader as well, and captain most sides he's played under, and we sort of watched him go. I think everyone watched him going oh, this is the next Stormers great tight end. Francois Helmer maybe is sort of to get along in the tooth. Obviously, but injured now. But you're going, okay, cool. But here's the next great tight end on its way. And for me, it just shows the faith that Rassie has. Yes, we do lacking a bit in the tight end department. Also, the France side, we got Thomas Tutoy, and we sort of Winston Cox is a bit older, but fantastic. The question, and it just shows obviously for all the guys. That you can make it as early as possible. If you're good enough, you're old enough. Yearban's an example of that. Steven Kitsoff, his parents had to sign a consent letter for him to play Super Rugby at 19. So it's exciting. A couple of years ago, we were watching the National Series.
Yeah.
And now you blink and he's a Springbok. And will he play against France? That's a big test. France is...
I probably don't think so.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't think so, and I think that's right, that he shouldn't play. The thing is, I think this is another Rassie masterstroke. Yes, it was a surprise. Let's be honest. When I saw the call-up, I was surprised. And having watched him against Japan, I feel very comfortable with him being in the mix. He's a very, very good rugby player. He also chose well to go to Wynberg in the southern suburbs, But I do think there's still growth that's needed. He wasn't necessarily for the last 2 years the Stormers' regular first choice tight head. But this is where Rassie Erasmus sometimes is brilliant. Remember when he had Sampi Swickers at the training camp, at the alignment camp? He does have these bolters, and not saying Zach Porton is a bolter, because he isn't, because he's got the pedigree. He played SA schools, he played SA under 20, he played in the international series. He's ticked all the boxes, and he's a fantastic rugby player. Yeah. I think he's a modern day prop, isn't he? Yeah. He's really a modern day prop, and he should be. He's 21 years old. So I'm looking forward to him having an amazing Springbok career. I think against France and Ireland, Rassie will go back to the tried and tested.
Italy, Wales, and then he comes back.
Maybe he comes back into that. And isn't it? And I just love where we are in rugby in South Africa. Not just at the box, but where we are in our schoolboy rugby, in our URC setups, in all these youngsters we see. But they're getting blooded into the various levels amazingly well. If there was a game, you would want Zach Porton to make his debut. Yeah. Japan at Wembley, right? Or it might have been Georgia earlier this year, where Rassie might have thought about him or whatever. Absolutely brilliant. And another Bok for Wynberg, that's great as well. So no, Zach Porton, kudos to him.
Well, Zachary Porton and Butter Tlekane, two youngsters who we've spoken about on Rugby on 216 before and who we featured on SuperSport schools before as well, making their debuts for different sides this weekend and getting included in those squads. And Zachary Porton starting for the Springboks. We're going to take a quick break now on Rugby on 216. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
lost for 3 days. I told him to ration the water, but he somehow went and drank every last drop in the first hour. I have a family.
We urge the public to remain calm. There is no leak. However, we have identified a thirsty individual who's responsible for this water crisis in the Western Cape.
You almost left Brackenfell for Waterkloof just because of the name. Almost.
Jason, is this true?
Yeah, that's true. I am thirsty.
Sure. Sure. You sure? Sure. Sure. Sure.
Yeah, man, you sure?
Yes, I am sure. Look at this thing. It's presidential. What if we get caught, man? Nobody gets caught in South Africa, man.
That's true.
Now lift. I'm sure.
Don't just be sure. Be sure. King Price Insure. Insurance you can be sure about. Visit kingprice.co.za.
Welcome back to Rugby on 216, brought to you by Thirsty. I think the animosity has settled a little bit. No? Oh, okay.
Not at all.
No.
That's why I moved
Okay.
further away. Now I want to look him in the eye.
Well, now I want you guys to try work together. We're going to do a little bit of a technical chat. Sputs, you've probably watched more school rugby than anyone else in South Africa. Cooks, you've played rugby at the highest level of anyone sitting around this table. You've been there, experienced it, you've coached as well. So today I thought we'd start with a bit of a technical chat because we talk a lot about first team rugby, and I think it's important not to forget that most rugby in South Africa is not played in first team level. It's played second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. So let's imagine today that we'd started a rugby on 216 team and it's like a fourth side, fifth side, whatever. Let's have a little bit about a chat about the scrums. I've got some clips to look at later on, but I think if you're going into a side that's these guys are mainly just playing for fun. They don't necessarily have any aspirations to go anywhere. Scrums obviously can be quite dangerous if they're not done properly, but they can also be a useful attacking weapon. In school, we have a couple variations, so it's not as easy to win penalties, but it can be a great attacking platform. What's the advice from the experts?
Well, I'm no scrum expert. Let's get that out of the way. All right, spend most of my time at 10 watching the scrum.
So you've watched a lot of
I've
scrums.
watched a lot of scrums. So, no, I think when it comes to fourth, fifth team level, first thing for me is safety. Paramount is make sure, and if I can't do it myself as a coach, make sure I put my feelings for a Cooksey aside for one day and get him in. And make sure that my prop forwards and my locks understands the dangers and how to protect themselves first. What to work on in the gym, what to work on. And if they don't gym as a fourth or fifth side player, how to do neck exercises to make sure their neck is strong, how to do back exercises to make sure and to stabilize that core. You know, it's, for me, that's paramount. Technique then comes after that, and it's part of technique anyway. But Cooksey, for me, that'll be the first thing I go. If as an ex-flyer, I can't teach them that. So I'll make sure I get a friend on the line, a Cooks, a Vian de Priya, whoever I can get hold of and say, listen, come to my fourth team practice. Yes, I did just call him a friend. Can you believe it? They were my mistake.
He's smiling.
My mistake. But that'll be my starting.
Yeah.
I think my starting point for this rugby on 216 team is I'd fire Sput as the other coach. That's where I start. And then I think, Alex, I mean, having, when I coach like little kids at 13s and 11s, you sort of, even before you get a fourth team, Sput's right, safety is number one. And technique becomes sort of big then because all you want to try to do, especially like as a fourth, fifth team, the guys, you don't want to sit there and scrum all day. And obviously, I mean, again,
In out.
and it can be 1.5. It's very hard to win a penalty in schoolboy rugby. Pushing a team over past the 1.5, it's near impossible. But I think for me, technique is probably the biggest thing, and I think you still have to spend quite a bit of time to make sure. Because one, the best way to be safe is to know the technique, is to have good technique, and then obviously I think from there you may be adding one little trick maybe to try and sort of maybe just get a bit of dominance. But I think my biggest thing is when I coach scrums for juniors especially is make sure the technique is solid. And it does maybe you go in a pre-season, you dedicate a whole session to scrumming, just going through technique, making sure it is, and maybe it is just learning enough to go hit, ball comes in, tell the nine, in, out, 1-2 steps, and you let the boys play. Because again, like you don't want to sit there and, go over collapse scrum and then the guys get up. Because in the day, if you coach your for the foot side, my philosophy is making sure they're all jaw as much as they can.
And they have fun.
So for me, it's all about the technique and going, listen, Oaks, we're not going to be here long. And there's times where you would dedicate a session to and going, Oaks, the forwards, like the backs can go do whatever they do, play Dreyfins and kick for balls and,
play a good game of touch.
And you sort of go to the forwards like, listen, Oaks, we are going to spend quite a bit of time scrumming, walking through 1v1 techniques, 2v2, 3v3, going through cylinders, making sure their posture is right, making sure when they're binding, all of that, just to sort of lock it in early and going, okay, and then making sure you do have scrum sessions. Yes, it's not fun, but the safe, again, you want to be safe, have the good technique.
South Africa has, to some extent, led the way with scrum safety in the world. The reason we went from crouch, touch, pause, engage was to crouch, bind, set was because of research that was done in South Africa saying that most of our catastrophic injuries in community rugby at the time were coming from the scrum, from when you were starting so far apart and just smashing into each other in a sort of uncontrolled chaos. And it became crouch, bind, set. And then obviously in schoolboy level, we have another variation where it's crouch, bind, scrum. And the whole point of that is on bind, as opposed to professional rugby or first team rugby, where you're still leaving a gap for a hit. You come together fully on bind. So there's no gap. You're already fully bound. All that happens on scrum is that the ball goes in and you start pushing. So it sort of builds you up into it a bit more. It's there to keep everybody safe. We'll watch this first clip. I think it's quite nice to talk about safety. You've already mentioned there are a couple variations in our schoolboy rugby, and it's not just ours, it's international as well. It's world rugby variations. 1.5 meters, scrum can't go past that. We'll manage that as referees. We're not necessarily just going to immediately free kick you if you go past the 1.5. We're going to tell you to stop. We know if you've got momentum, it takes you a moment to stop. But usually if you keep pushing and you're going past that and you've done it more than once, then you will get free kicked because then it goes to safety. So because of that also, you can never have a penalty try from a scrum in school rugby.
Yes.
Yeah.
The closest the scrum can be is 5 meters and you can only push 1.5.
Have I seen one been given before?
So that's where you go to also inexperienced referees sometimes. So I hope that by having this discussion, we're also educating people. If the ball gets to the back of the scrum and it's under the 8's feet, has to be played away. You can't keep it there. It must go. That's also a free kick if you keep it there. That's a variation. And then a couple things on safety, just in upper levels of rugby, scrum can't wheel past 90. If it does, it must be reset because then you've got people pushing in all sorts of bizarre directions. School rugby, it's 45 degrees. And
once again, for safety.
Yeah, for safety. And then things that are across the board for all levels of scrum. If the scrum collapses immediately or it pops up or things like that, reset for safety. So this clip, I think, from the Pole Derby this year, we were all there. I think it just highlights quite well a couple of the safety things, and referee Jean de Bot, I think, quite rightly resets it because it is quite chaotic. So let's just have a look at this.
Goes full 45.
Yeah, it goes to the 45, but geez, right on that setup, there's a few weird angles.
Yeah.
If you look at look. Yeah. I mean, Cooksey, there's a few angles there that doesn't make sense.
And then the scrum just goes straight up.
But look, both on the loose and tight head side, from the blue jerseys here, the angles don't look quite right. If you can play it again.
Yeah, and I think that's something I will say as a referee, what we're looking for often at the scrum is we're already watching before the scrum set up, who's got good body position, whose feet are in a nice position, because when it all happens in a split second, and most referees, so Jean here, he has an assistant referee, doesn't have a TMO obviously, but usually for matches that most school referees are doing, it's just them. And in a split second, you've got to make a decision. So we're looking for those sorts of things. We're looking how players are set up. And if we just go back to, I think, even before they engage, just to see how the setup is from there, and then I'll play it through.
Yeah, angles, boys.
And then it just goes straight up, rotates, and
I think, I mean, with the angles there, I mean, if you're at home, you can see obviously Parkham is trying to create a right shoulder.
Yeah.
Just obviously to open up the angle for the 10. And obviously you can see, I mean, Paul Boy's not trying to prevent it, but then again, it's, I mean, there are ways, you know, like with rugby, there's ways to bend and stretch.
For sure.
And I mean, look
at breaking the law there at the start.
It's just going, maneuvering and different, and obviously you're always looking for a way now how to get the head lower. So again, you mentioned like it goes 45, so it has to be a reset.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think, and if I was a referee, and I think something you're touching on, Wet Wipe, is that I'd be very focused on the setup, Cooksey. You know, because the guys can give you hints. You know, he can have that right foot slightly in front of his left foot in the setup, and then you know the chances are he's going to go in as a tight head. You know, same for the loose head. If that left foot is a little, you know, so if you have a look at that, you want to see 6 feet almost in line at setup.
When you look in the tunnel, you want to see a nice set of square shoulders. Everyone's in line parallel. Obviously, sometimes players are different sizes, and all of that can create a bit of chaos. But generally, we call it setting up for success. That's why we have our pre-match talks. Even in school rugby, most referees will like to have a pre-match chat with at least the front row, just to say, guys, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a mark on the field like this. The gap's your responsibility before we do anything. Crouch, no contact between anyone. Fine, we're coming together, keeping the gap, set, hit, wait for the ball. And then there'll be more to it than that. But we talk a lot about, if we set up for success, we're going to have fewer reset scrums, we're going to have fewer collapse scrums, it's going to be safer for everyone, and we're going to be able to play rugby. So that's the kind of...
Do you have a few clips where you've got the whistle?
I do.
Please take us there. Please take us there.
I do.
Look. This
I'll show you one of the things we're trying in school rugby. You want the ball in, ball out, because you can't scrum more than 1.5 meters.
Yeah.
So if the ball comes out, that's a success. So let's go past this clip. It was just another ball in, ball out, and we'll go to what Sput.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So desperately wants.
Oh man, just game, Paul Boys 2 versus Stellenberg 2.
Yes. So let me take you through why I've chosen this clip. Okay. So Stellenberg is feeding the ball. Ultimately, a scrum is still a contest for possession.
Yeah.
Right. So within that 1.5 meters, you can try. Firstly, you can try and just hook the ball and turn it over. But with feeds, that can be tricky. So within that 1.5 meters, if you're able to go forward and get to the ball, you can turn it over. So within that 1.5, if one team is doing everything correctly, and it's clear that the other team has infringed in some way and prevented a contest for possession, that's when you'll see a penalty, apart from obvious collapses and foul play and stuff like that. That's when you will see a penalty. And I love it. Teams always ask me, so how far do we need to scrum to win the penalty? This is more in club rugby when they can go more than 1.5 meters. And I say, well, in theory, you could scrum them 100 meters, but they have to infringe.
Cooksey, you check if Alex got this one right.
Oh, my goodness. Don't know why I agreed to this.
Ooh. Yeah, I think you made the right call there. You penalised Stellenberg for their own safety. Something wasn't right. Were they folding there on the far side?
Yeah, so it's hard to see from this angle, but one useful thing about being tall is I can see the other side as well. Jeez. And the important thing is that Boys High start scrumming straight, and then it's Stellenberg who start popping up, they start angling and everything. And at that point...
I sort of pulling out the context.
It's gone about a meter.
Yeah.
If they hadn't been doing that, Boys have a chance to turn it over.
100%, yes.
They've been prevented from having that chance. So I also do quite a dramatic penalty.
You do.
I'm about to be run over. It's
Yeah.
more when you have 16 of the biggest men on the field coming towards you.
Very authoritative. Yeah.
Yeah, I can almost hear the whistle. 3 fields. I like you. I like the
Yeah.
quick turn as well.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so then this is another one. Let me just go back. So talking about when we're saying, these things about when you're looking at things before the scrum has even happened, right? Sometimes you notice something, you notice a hand somewhere.
You said his feet as well. He's
Way too far back, eh?
Yeah. So the loose head on Stellenberg's side, his feet are way
going
too
straight up.
far back. But also watch the hand of the Paul boys tight head. You can't see him. You can just see his hand on the side. This one, I think, perhaps more debatable.
Yeah. Okay.
He pulls him down.
So you see,
Look, but it was one of those two where he definitely pulls him down.
yes,
But if you were slightly more attentive, maybe to the start of the scrum of the feet
Yeah.
positioning,
You can kind of see from there.
it could have also been difficult for the tight head to keep him up.
Yes.
You know. But
I just think the
in this
giveaway
case, the giveaway
is the big pull. So
100%.
so if I think in this, it was Cruz Davies, obviously a fantastic scrummager. So perhaps this time just not getting lucky, and often you'll get lucky with that.
Yeah.
I think if he hadn't done that, I've noticed the Stellenberg player,
Then
it's going to go
Stellenberg
down
would've-
like a
yeah.
pancake.
Yes. Then boys
the one
have won the penalty.
Like,
Yes.
he was going to collect, but he
Yes.
still don't. Even though he's about in front, don't
do that.
Don't help him out. So
I can't penalise what would have happened
Yeah.
because in this
So that's
case,
where props
you've
get
caused
naughty,
it.
eh?
Yeah.
That's where they get naughty, because what Cruz Davey immediately knows is the poor fella I'm scrumming to has got his feet way too far back.
So let's just help
So
him.
he's hitting. So let's help him
Yeah.
to fall,
Yeah.
because he's going to fall easily, and Alexander White is not going to be wise to it because he saw his feet. So
In this case,
well done.
in this case though, it's look at this. It's quite a significant and immediate
Yeah.
just bang,
No. So,
pulling him down. So I wasn't
right.
impressed.
You got it right. Well done.
And then he is obviously looking at me, and we had a little chat. But I've spoken about Cruz on the show before, and his incredible story. So it was actually quite cool to get to referee him. And this match ended, I think, about 15-0 to Paul boys.
I have to say well done, Alexander. It's two good calls, and then
Thanks for giving your expert opinions and helping us hopefully help coaches and people around the country with the scrums.
nothing about my scrum opinion is expert. Nothing. That's fun.
Thanks for giving us your
expert.
expert opinion and Split saying what you would do if you were having to coach the team. We're going to take a quick break now on Rugby on 216. When we come back, I'm joined by Lincoln Marley of the Mzwandile Marley Foundation to talk about their exciting plans for 2026 and an incredible 2025. See you in a bit.
Bottles disappeared. Profits vanished.
It wasn't theft.
Our biggest customer became our biggest problem.
I wouldn't call it a problem. He just likes to hoy a few with the boys.
The guys in the first team used to call him Camille.
Because he was so tall.
No, not Camille Per, Camille. He used to drink 200 liters of water in 3 minutes after practice, like a bloody camel.
Is this true, Yeben?
Yeah, most of that is true. I am thirsty.
Je kom mee boksen. Kibbies? Anne? Maar waar is die Anne?
Hey, hey, hey! Ik kom niet boksen, ik kom niet boksen. Ik kom niet boksen, ik kom niet boksen.
Wow, wow! Exemos, wow! Breng van mij die box.
Okay, so. The Courier Guy, the courier behind the box.
Can you deliver something for me?
Where to?
Hy wys vir my. Hy wys vir my. Put this one in the Springs box.
Look at man. Hey, buena.
Welcome back to Rugby on 216, brought to you by Thirsty. Earlier on in the show, we spoke about Batul Hlekane being selected for the Barbarians squad on the weekend, and we spoke of his journey all the way to Graham College, to the Sharks, to Lions next year. It's an incredible story. And it all started with the Mzwandile Mali Foundation. Joining me in studio, someone who is familiar to Rugby on 216, Lincoln Mali. Thanks so much for joining us again. We spoke, I think, in one of our very early episodes this year, so it's great to have you back.
It's good to be back. That program did amazing for our boys, and all of them are always glued and watching the program.
Oh, that's good to hear. I see we've got some of them up on the wall here as we.
Yeah, these are the winners of the tournament for 2025.
Yeah.
And Nzondilelo. That's where Mato comes from.
That's where Batul Hlekane comes from,
Yes.
Nzondilelo High School. And I think it's quite cool that you've got another success story, Atinkosi Mukume, who's following in Batul Hlekane's footsteps, who's been recruited, just like Batul Hlekane, from Nzondilelo High School to Graham College.
As I was playing the tournament this year, there were scouts that were there. They saw young Mukume, and we call him Shoes, and he's been recruited full scholarship to Graham College, following Bato's footsteps, and again, building, the next generation of players, giving them opportunities. So that's another amazing story for the year.
When I spoke to you at the start of the year, it was sort of looking back at 2024, looking ahead to 2025. So now we're going to look back at 2025 and we'll look ahead to the tournament in 2026. And I know there have been a lot of highlights in 2025, but I think the one I want to really look at, because we're talking about Nzondilelo High School, is that for the first time, they're going to have a permanent rugby coach, which is something that they haven't had before. And I think, obviously, Mzwandile Mali, the foundation, does such a fantastic job of highlighting these kids and getting them to go to the likes of Graham College, like Bato has, and now like Mukume has as well. But I think the ultimate goal must be that one day, you don't have to take a kid from their school to another school. It's that Nzondilelo on its own will be as good as Graham College. And this is the first step in that.
Absolutely. It's a long journey, and we always have to dream big. And my dream was help the coaches to coach at the right level. And in Nzondilelo, they had coached Xolani Grootboom, who had coached Bato, who had played in the same club as Sia and them, African Bombers. And he's been a brilliant coach. He's won our tournament 5 years in a row. But he was always part-time, all right? And when I went to Nzondilelo this year, they said, we saved this great news for you, that we've appointed him as a permanent staff. Now, we've trained the coaches of the other schools, but they're all still, part-time. But Nzondilelo is leading the way to appoint a permanent coach to help the kids identify the talent from the primary schools that come into Nzondilelo and grow the players all out. So it's great news. It's the first start, but there's a lot to do.
And Nzondilelo obviously having great success this year, winning the tournament. So I think it's hopefully something that's going to spread to some more of the schools. And it's all starting with Mzwandile Mali. But you mentioned that all the coaches have training.
Yes.
So maybe to touch on a bit more about that, even if they aren't full-time, you are upskilling the coaches and not just giving players opportunities, but you're really changing the landscape at the real grassroots level. So that the basis everyone's working from is improved.
Absolutely. There are many former players who want to contribute to the game. There are many teachers who want to contribute to the game, but they have to have the skill. So sitting on the sidelines and complaining that they don't have the qualifications doesn't help. So we spoke to the Department of Sports, and they came to the party, and we started a program. So all those coaches now have been given at least your level 1. We want to continue with that so that we're building the entire rugby infrastructure. New administrators, new coaches, and players. That's how you build the rugby up from the grassroots.
And that being a World Rugby level 1. And I think something that people don't always realize if you're not involved in coaching in school rugby is that the school's like a grey high.
Yes.
If we go into the Western Cape, Paul Boys, Paarlchem, coaches there are going to have level 1, level 2, level 3
Yes.
coaching certificates as a matter of course. So if you're upskilling all the coaches that are involved in the tournament, it's just going to be incredible.
Absolutely.
And if we look back at this year, so this is part of your big poster for 2026. But let's touch on some of the highlights from 2025.
Yes.
54 schools.
Yes.
Do you have an idea of how many boys?
About 1,200 boys
Which is
that
just
participated.
incredible.
In 6 towns across the Eastern Cape. And it's been amazing for us. Starting from where I started in 2014 with 8 schools to be having 54 schools this year was just something amazing. And all of this is done through volunteers. People who want to give to the game, who expect no monetary response from what they do. That's been amazing.
So from 54 to, I believe, 60, 62 teams
62
in 26?
schools, 62 schools for 2026. I mean, there are areas knocking on our door to say, we are starting, we've seen the rugby, we've seen what the boys can do, we want to be part of that. And we say, organize yourself, because we want the games to be localized, and then out of that, a team will come and play, and then we get to the finals. And then out of that, we will pick the Mzwandile Mali 15, which is the one then that to go and play in the key tournaments, across the country.
And I see also you have a coach of the tournament who part of their sort of prize is being selected as an assistant coach for that Mzwandile Mali 15. And that team itself, on a couple levels, I think it's so special because firstly, there's something for all 1,400 boys that are going to play in 2026's competition. There's something that they're playing for.
Yes.
They're playing for their school. They're playing for the pride of placing in the competition, but they're also personally playing for an incredible opportunity.
Yes.
Then they get to go on tour.
Yes.
This year, Mzwandile Mali 15 went to the Noordside competition, which was at Paul Roos in the Western Cape. Went to St. Stithians Easter Festival. Went to the Grey High Festival as well.
Yeah.
And you have been invited back to all 3.
This is the thing that's so amazing, in that people in those tournaments want quality. They want to see strength versus strength. So they didn't know what quality would come from Mzwandile Mali, but they gave us a chance. All we wanted was an opportunity. And in Noordside, the boys did so well. They brought an amazing brand of rugby, a fierce that was there. And then at Saints, they did even better. They won both games that they played at Saints, and then they also played very well at Grey. So it's helping the guys to really, really, have something to aim for. When our boys in our townships and villages wear the Mzwandile Mali kit, there is something that makes them kind of like, you are part of the Mali 15. And that's the kind of thing we want kids to aspire to, because it allows them to be staying away from the violence, the crime, the drugs, and all of these things that are besetting our communities. But we're trying to give them something to aspire to. And we've been very grateful for those tournaments for re-inviting us back, because now these kids during the December holiday, they are at the gym. They are at the gym, they're working hard because they know tournament is coming, and they want to be part of the tournament, want to win for their school, but they also want to make them Mzwandile Mali 15.
Because the tournament in 2026 is going to run from the 11th of Feb until the 13th of March.
Yes.
And then sort of straight after that, you're into Easter festivals.
Absolutely.
You're into Noordside. You're into Grey High Festival. So it's all like it all happens.
Yeah, what we do is that when the team is announced, and the way the team is announced, it's announced at the stadium in the finals. And I can't describe the feeling of being recognized among your peers. You don't know whether your name is there, and then you come and you get capped, and then you were rivals just a few minutes ago. Now you're in one team. Then we take them to a camp. In the camp, we deal with skills, mental health, just rugby structure, rules, all of those things. Prepare them, also social assistance, because many of these kids come from child-headed households, they come from very disadvantaged homes. Then you help the guys to prepare them for those tournaments. And when they go to those tournaments, the way they dress, the way they show up, they don't feel less than. And they only want an opportunity to get on the field and just play.
And they belong. The rugby that we've seen has been so exciting, and obviously a couple of years ago went overseas as well. So there's so much exciting opportunity. But I also want to say that not only is it an amazing opportunity for these boys, it's having real world impact. 10 of your boys this year who are in matric have been accepted at various universities to continue their studies, which I'm sure just must make you so proud.
Oh, I'm so proud because we've been working at all facets of the boys, making sure that they're studying, making sure we get the results. We get all the results all the time. We analyze the results, making sure they've applied. And then they've also got examples because we had young January, I think it was January, who was selected to play for the Walter Sisulu University. So now they've got somebody to say, he can play. So we say, okay, guys, who are you going to be, following? And will you be playing for Rhodes or Nelson Mandela University or Forte or Walter Sisulu University? Those are the things we're pushing.
It always goes back to that thing, I think, of role models. For whatever reason, whether it's you haven't seen someone who comes from where you come from do something, either then you just don't even think, it doesn't pop into your mind that it's a possibility, or you might like to aspire to it, but you don't believe you can.
Yes.
But once that first person does it, then it's like the floodgates are open because everyone suddenly there's belief and there's real expectation that this is something that we can do. A couple more of the success stories. It's so exciting to see all of this. 10 of the boys went to the finals of the trials for Border and EP for Craven Week. You mentioned Atankosi January. I'm going to add to that Sipinati April. So January and April, they were both selected for the under 20 Eastern Cape team that toured to Germany. Then they were also both part of the under 21 Shield Championship team for Border under 21 team that beat Pumas to be crowned champions there. So it's just all these cool highlights, but like you say, it's multifaceted, it's role models. Once that belief is there, it's just the sky's the limit with the change that it can create.
I've said this story when I was here last time to say the first time these boys saw themselves on TV was because SuperSport School was there. These kids had never watched themselves play. That made other kids to also want to play so that they can see themselves. As they started to go through and then went to England, more kids wanted to play. So from whatever 32 schools we had, we went to 54 schools because kids wanted to play. And then when they saw our kids playing at the North State, and that's covered on SuperSport, Grey PE, Saints Festival, now suddenly guys start to see. And when they hear that January and April have been selected for Border under 20 to go to Germany, and also for the Shield final and win. Now again, more kids. When they find out that other kids are going for trials at the universities, more kids come. So we're trying to role model all the time. And so even watching this program, they watch what happens with established schools. They know those players like anybody else because they watch the program, and then they rate themselves against those boys to say, if so-and-so at Pal Gym does this, I can also do it. And so it's part of just growing this game from communities that in the past wouldn't have thought that they would be there. Now they see that they can get there.
It's a great equalizer because these big schools, these established schools, even before SuperSport schools, they were filming their matches. The boys were able to watch themselves. Now anyone can watch themselves, which is fantastic, obviously, for coaching, but also to see other people out there and to learn things about what you can do is just so special. And I think the more schools playing rugby in South Africa, the better, the more competitive it will be. So
that's the game. That's the game, eh?
And that's what Mzwandile Mali Foundation is all about. So to you and your team, congratulations for 2025. All the best for 2026. I think just to end off, a message from you to everyone who's going to be taking part from the 11th of Feb until the 13th of March.
To say to all the schools, prepare yourselves. Tournament is going to be bigger than it was last year. And to the schools, support the boys and let's grow the game. I have two big dreams that I still have, which I'm going to pursue. One is to make sure that there's a league, because at the end of all these tournaments, these schools don't play. That's the tragedy. The second one is starting a girls' tournament. I mean, if you look at South African women in this country playing rugby, the bulk of them come from the Eastern Cape, Border and EP.
Yes.
But if there's no feeder of a school game, that's going to die. So those are my two big projects for this coming year.
Well, I'd say they're ambitious projects, but we've seen what you've done with them, Zwandile Mali Foundation and 15. So I have full confidence that we're gonna see those come to fruition. Lincoln, thanks so much for joining us on Rugby on 2 on 6. We'll have to chat closer to the tournament again next year. We're going to take a quick break now on Rugby on 2 on 6. We'll be right back. See you in a bit.
We were lost for 3 days. I told him to ration the water, but he somehow went and drank every last drop in the first hour. I have a family.
We urge the public to remain calm. There is no leak. However, we have identified a thirsty individual who's responsible for this water crisis in the Western Cape.
He almost left Brackenfell for Waterkloof just because of the name. Almost.
Jason, is this true?
Yeah, that's true. I am thirsty.
Some things you don't choose. They choose you. A name, a history, a legacy that came long before you and will last long after you're gone. It's not just about the game. It's the moments that shape you. The early mornings, the long bus rides, the chants that never fade. The friendships, the rivalries, the feeling of being part of something bigger. It's a belonging. Something you carry with you wherever you go. Because once you're a part of it, you always will be.
In a world where every second counts, will he make it on time? Out here on the streets, anything can happen when the odds are stacked against you. One man finds the will, the drive, the passion to steer his path to destiny. It's a Swift.
Welcome back to Rugby on 216, brought to you by Thirsty. I think Sput and Cooks, the mood has improved in studio because now you get to team up against me. Am I reading that correctly?
It's like, you know, sometimes your team will work with someone you don't like, but there's a respect factor.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
But our animosity is fuel. The only thing that solves it is like trying to beat you. So the last segment we will,
which you're pretty good at, 50-50 at the moment.
Look,
so
the thing is, in this last segment, like he says, it's the one for 6 minutes a week. He's my mate.
Because he's about to go home as well.
Because we get to go up against you, and you know the fact that you are our junior, you know, sort of fuels that fire to make sure we keep you there.
At under 50%, and we'll do this week again.
Yeah. Well, last week I got it right. I went back to 50%. So this week, let's have it.
Really? Only the charge.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just that, sorry, what?
My dad used to do this when he got very excited, you know.
We spoke about Batu.
It's like you're going to give me a cup here, preparing.
We spoke about Batu Hlekane. Obviously, he went to Graham, Sons of the Leopard. And not only
number 5 in the show.
Not only do they have a beautiful nickname, but they also have got, Alex, a beautiful name for their first team rugby field, which is called City Lords.
Yeah, it's amazing. One of the top names in South African schoolboy rugby. And then a competition which I'm not sure you know that well is the Wesgro Centrale Sportreeks in the Free State and in the Northern Cape as well. But the Wesgro Centrale Sportreeks is more than just rugby. We've got rugby, netball, hockey, which 8 schools compete against each other. Free State and Northern Cape. And the overall winners in 2026 of the Westkro, 2025 rather, of the Westkro Centrale Sportreeks was Central High School in Bloemfontein. Big one for them.
Oh, guys. Okay, so this is a week where I have absolutely no idea. Not a clue.
And I thought as much.
Clue.
I thought as much.
Okay, so you said the overall winner was?
Central.
And you said the field was called?
City Lords.
And Graham.
Surely Cooks would have said that before, if it were. Although you might have, I just don't remember. But that's such.
You're so focused on me saying Sons of the Leopard.
Yeah.
You're not focused on anything
It's because
else.
you always say Sons of the Leopard, so that I remember. But maybe once or twice you have said City Lords. But I feel like I would have known that. Okay, hang on though. Free State, Northern Cape. So
I'll tell you the schools that play in it. It's Central, it's Jim Fisher, it's Diamantveld in Kimberley. It is Goutveld in Welkom. It is Witteberg and Voortrekker from Bethlehem.
Could well be Central.
I mean, if you look at some of those schools are proper sporting schools. You know?
I'd never want to play poker with you guys, but I think Spud is true.
He's back-to-back weeks.
Jeez,
Alex is...
Come on!
Yes!
And I want to stand still there for a moment.
50.8%.
I want to actually stand still there for a moment. I think it's an amazing achievement for Central Hoërskool. You know, in Bloemfontein. They sort of struggled for a few years, and they've really worked hard at getting good teachers back into the school system where they can assist with coaching and everything doesn't have to happen from outside of the school, which helps with the budget as well. Obviously, if you get quality coaches teaching at your school as well. So a good one for them.
And City Lords is Kingswood College's first in field, and Somerset.
Somerset. I don't know if you've mentioned either of those before. So
I try not to speak about Somerset. I've got very bad memories of them.
My thing about the question mark that remains lingering for me is how he gets it right when he gets his 50% right. He doesn't get it right because he knows it.
That's a full-on guess.
Yeah, he gets it right because he goes all cryptic, you know. I would love the day where Alex goes, Cooks, you are false because this is the home ground of Kingswood.
There've been a couple where I've said, Sput, you've told me this, that's it.
No, remember
refereeing one.
Remember we were trying to be too nice and give him the World Cup winning one, and he showed off and naming every single. I was like, you know what? I'm done being nasty because when you are right, you were showing off. He's like, no, and 1987 is 91.
He does kind of rebel when he.
So you've just made sure that never happens again.
Yeah.
So I think it's more your guys'
When he
fault.
said, I was like, no, Cooks was false. No, he was like, 1987 was.
Okay, well, I'm happy. 50.8%. That's a good note to end on. Cooks, you're off to the continent, to Europe. You're going to be watching the Springboks take on France. Enjoy that, but we'll have to just find somewhere here to watch it.
I've heard, you know, weather prediction awful.
It's going to pour in Paris.
I've heard.
It's going to pour.
Yeah, I've heard there won't be many people because, you know, storms predicted and stuff. So Cooks, you should have
Stade
fun.
Francais is just actually flooded.
I just remember, I thought about something, Alexander. Can we please ask Cooks, remember when he went to Lords for the cricket final? When he sent us that little video clip. Can we please ask him to do us a video clip from Paris?
I'll have to take the chairs with me.
And you know the match kicks off at 10 at night. So it's for the lights. They do lights up.
just a little how's it going?
Oh my word. Well, it's all we have time for on this week's episode of Rugby on 216. Spud and Cooks have solved their feud and ended in a much better mood than they started the show. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, Tuesday at 7. But for now, bye-bye.